So let us start. Yesterday we did areas. We were talking about the area of different shapes, how to do compound areas, different areas together combined based on the simple areas and breaking them down. Today we will be going into volumes, but before that, we need to understand what the difference between area and volume is. So when we were talking about area, for example, for a rectangle, we're talking about a 2D shape. So for area, we're talking about a 2D shape. What does 2D mean? Means we have two components or two dimensions. So in this case, we only have the length and the width. Okay, so we only have two components or two axes or whichever you want to call them, which is the length and width. And we can find the area which was length by width in this case. For volume, in volume, we're talking about a 3D shape. So basically, there's an extra dimension in this case. The extra dimension will always usually be the third new dimension, you could say, that is introduced in the volume. Yani if, for example, we have in the case of a rectangle, this rectangle here that we are seeing, okay, this rectangle over here, if we draw it, this is the same rectangle. If we look at the shaded area, this is the same rectangle over here, okay? This front part, where at the bottom, this is the length and this is the width. Now there's one new dimension in this case, which is people can call it height, depth. It depends on how you're looking at it. Some people call this the height and this the width. Okay, so it's all the same. It's not a big, don't get too confused with it. But for just the sake of this example, so you can understand it a bit more, we're going to consider this to be the width, and this the height. So we are introducing a new dimension, which is the height in this case. What does this mean? So we have the length and the width, and on top of it, we have a new dimension, which is the height. Basically, it means that this purple shaded area in the middle, this original 2D rectangle, we are extending it throughout like this. Let's use a different color. We're extending it throughout. يعني قاعدين نسحبها نمططها. Okay, we're pulling it through so that it's going to form a full cube, a full 3D shape, like any not necessarily a cube, but a rectangular prism. That's what they call this, a rectangular prism. So to do that, to find the volume of that, you basically have to multiply the area we found, this area that we found for the rectangle, this area, okay, and you multiply it with the third new dimension, which is the height. Okay, so the volume is going to be equal to, for a rectangular prism, the volume V, okay, volume V is equal to the area, which we found from before, the area of a rectangle, times the new dimension, which is the height, the H. And this will be the case for almost every shape, except some very specific shapes. But in the case of prisms, it will always be the area that we are finding of the front of the shape, as if you're looking at it just from the front. That area of the shape, you will just multiply it by the third dimension, in this case, the height or whatever. So what does that mean, though? What does volume in general mean? So let's say يعني كبت البيت, like the storage container you have at home. Okay, any storage container. Oh, box, a carton box. You have a carton box at home, okay? And you want to fill stuff inside of it. So the volume basically means how much, like how many items you can fill inside of it. Let's say like you want to fill for example, you're in the kitchen, you're baking, and you want to fill it with water, and it's like this shape, a rectangular dish or a rectangular plate, and you want to fill it with water. So how much water can you pour inside this? How much water can you pour inside this until it gets completely full, until the water reaches the top surface and it's completely full? This is what they call the volume. So that is why we need to find like volume usually of 3D shapes. It's so we know how much space it is either occupying or how much space يعني يكون داخله, how much space is available inside. That is what the concept of volume is all about. To find, it's a 3D shape and you use the shape of the 2D area and then you multiply the third dimension with it. So in the case of, again, a rectangular prism, so this is a rectangular prism. prism. What does that mean? A prism means it's in 3D, so there's like an extension to it. Okay, and rectangular, this is the shape of the front part of it, the purple part over here. So it's a rectangular prism. The volume is going to be equal to, like I said earlier, the area that we know of the rectangle times the additional or the new dimension that is introduced. In this case, we're calling it the height. Okay? So if we want to substitute, we could just say the volume is equal to the length times the width, which is just, all of this is just the area, times the height. And that's exactly the same concept we're going to apply for all the different shapes that we're going to see here. So moving on to a square. What is a square? A square is basically nothing but a rectangle that has the same side. So if we apply the same exact concept for a square, the volume is going to be equal to the area of a square times the new height. But in this case, for a square, because it's this is a square prism and not a rectangular prism, for a square or a cube specifically, this is what we would call a cube, the length is equal to the width, which is equal to the height, which is all equal to A. We're naming them as A. So we can rewrite this as the area of a square times A. And what do we know? We know that the area of a square is, this area of a square is A squared. So we multiply that by A. So the volume is going to be the final volume. We could say the volume of a square or of a cube, sorry, a volume of a cube is simply A cubed. Okay? Because we are just substituting, the A area of the square times the height, which is also equal to the same to the side in the case of a cube. There is a difference between a cube and the square prism. Keep that in mind. A square prism is going to have a square shape, but the height or the length or the width or whatever you want to call this dimension is going to be different. Okay, so the length over here or the length here, and this is the height and this is the width, for example. Okay, so the height times the height and width are equal in this case. These two values are equal, but this one is not. So here you will find the area of the square and then multiply by this new L to find the volume. Okay, this is in the case of a square prism, which is not the same as a cube. This is basically, it's the same as a rectangular prism more than a cube. Okay. Moving on to a triangle. So remember, we have like two different types of triangles. We have this area of the triangle, which is just a right triangle, or we could have a triangle in this shape. Okay, in this shape where the area is going to be the perpendicular height is in the middle. So this is the perpendicular height over here, and this is the base at the bottom. Okay. So we have two different shapes. Again, the concept is exactly the same thing. So let's look at them separately. Okay. Let's move this over here. So for the case of a right triangle, it's the same thing. The volume is going to be equal to the base times the height over 2, which in other words, before even saying that, this is just equal to the area of a triangle times this length over here. This length. This is the new dimension being introduced because this is the shaded area. This is the shaded area that is the same as this. Okay? And then we are multiplying with this new area that we are extending. This new area that is being extended. So this length over here is going to be the additional new dimension that is being introduced, which is L. If we just substitute, we could say that the volume is equal to base times height over 2 times this L. Simplify it more, we could simply say that the volume is simply equal to the volume is just going to be equal to base times height times L over 2. So base times height times L all over 2. Okay? The whole concept, the whole idea is that it is just multiplying the area of the shape by the new dimension that is being introduced. For the right side, it's exactly the same case. The area of the shape over here, this shape, it's exactly the same as the area of the triangle is exactly the same. It does not change. The only difference is the height is not, it's in the middle. That's it. So the volume is also going to be the exact same thing, where it's the area of this triangle times the extra length that has been added. So base times height times length over 2. Same exact concept. And you will do this exact same thing for every prism shape. So this will be called, this is a triangular prism. Okay? Same concept, nothing is different, nothing is changing, it's the exact same thing. Moving on to the parallelogram, exact same thing. The volume simply is equal to the area of a parallelogram times the new length. In this case, they're calling it the base. Okay. We can call it, let's just stick with this image over here because we called it base times height over here. Let's call it length. Let's call it the L length. Okay, let's call this the L. Okay, this is just L. And this is the base so that there's no confusion. Okay, this is the base B. And this is the height H. Okay, so as you can see, again, the area here, the surface area here is the same as this. So if we highlight this shaded blue part over here or this purple part over here, it's the same as the area we find for a basic 2D parallelogram. So we do the area, and then the new dimension is just the length. The length over here, the extension basically of it. So the volume is simply going to be equal to base times height times length. And that's it. And this is for a prism that is a parallelogram, which is called a parallelepiped, if I'm not mistaken. A parallelepiped, something like that. Parallelepiped, I think. I'm not exactly sure of the wording, but it's something like this, a parallelepiped. All right. Moving on to a trapezoidal prism, or a trapezoid and then into a trapezoidal prism. Exactly, again, the same concept. The volume is simply going to be equal to the area of the trapezoid times the new length or the extended length of the trapezoid. So this is the shaded part over here. This is the trapezoid. Oh, the color does not show. Let's try green. I don't want there to be any confusion. This is the shaded part over here. Okay. This shaded part here is the same as the area of a 2D trapezoid. This is the area over here. And then the length L, basically, this is just this length L. The extension, the new dimension, the 3D dimension or the third dimension of the 3D shape. So the volume, again, same concept, is going to be equal to the area, which is in this case A plus B times H. H is this height over here, the perpendicular height H, okay? Divided by 2 times L. Okay, you could just rewrite that just to make it all into one equation. The volume is simply equal to A plus B times H times L all over 2. And this is the volume of a trapezoidal prism. Trapezoidal prism. Okay? Now moving on to the circle, exactly again the same concept. Just a reminder, the perimeter of a circle is called the circumference. The area is pi r squared. So for a cylinder, for a circle, when you extend the circle, it turns into a cylinder, a cylindrical shape. Okay. it could be in two shapes. You could either have it as a height or as a length. It doesn't really matter. It's just the different naming, because if it's a cylinder, if you put it on the face of the circle, it's just going to be standing. On the side, it's rolling. The volume equation is exactly the same thing. Again, the volume is going to be equal to the area of a circle times the length, in this case, this length over here. The area of a circle is known as pi r squared. This is the shaded part, which is the same as this shaded part, okay? So the volume is simply going to be equal to pi r squared times L, or just what usually is written as pi r squared L. In this case, it's exactly the same thing, pi r squared H. This is what is more commonly used in general, pi r squared H for a cylinder. And this is, like I just said, it's called a cylinder. Before moving on, these basic shapes, is it clear, everyone, like how the volumes are, how you can find the volume very easily? As long as you know the areas, you could just move on to finding the volume of any shape that is, straightforward. So it's just an extension of the surface area. So basically, this is becoming the surface area. Like I said, I won't talk about it, but this is the surface area of this object. This is the outside part of the shape. This is called the surface area. The inside part, what is like filling the object or filling the shape, is called the volume. Okay? Let's move on to some, I wouldn't say complicated, but a bit different shapes. So we covered, the circle, the rectangle, rectangular prism, the cube, the square prism, triangular prisms, parallelogram prism or parallelepiped, trapezoidal prism, and the cylinder. Now we have some different shapes here which have the same concept but have the different bases. What does that mean? So if we look at this part, the bottom part, this is a circle, the bottom part. It is a circle. So we know what the area of the circle is. The area of the circle is pi r squared. Okay? We know what that area is. And we will use the exact same concept we did before. What is the third dimensional, the new dimension here, or to make it 3D? It is this height, h. So this h needs to be multiplied by the area. So the volume is going to be equal to the area, again, the area of the circle times the height. But one thing is different here. This is a cone shape. Because this is in a cone shape, the rule for a cone is you have to multiply by 1/3 the entire equation. Okay? For any conical shape or any shape that is, slanted, يعني هني الشيب من فوق قاعد يتلاقى at one point. It's meeting at one point. فقاعد ينعوي. It's not straight all the way. لأنه قاعد ينعوي هني القانون يتغير and it becomes 1/3 of basically the same concept, which is the area times the extension. So in other words, you can say that the volume of a cone, volume cone, is equal to 1/3 times the volume of a cylinder. It's the same thing because as we saw earlier, the volume of a cylinder, what is it? It's the area of the circle times the length or times the height, depending on the case. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing. It's the volume of the cylinder, but you multiply it by 1/3. The same exact concept is applied for pyramids, depending on the size, the base of the pyramid. So in this case, this is the base of the pyramid at the bottom. This is the base at the bottom over here. Okay. This is the base of the pyramid, which is a rectangle. And a rectangle, we know that the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. Okay. Area of a rectangle, to find the volume, what do? We need to look at the new extension, which is in this case the height. So we do the exact same thing. The volume is going to be equal to the area of the rectangle, times the height. But because it's in a pyramid shape in this case, we have to multiply by 1/3. That's it. That's basically the rule for pyramids or cone shaped when it is not extended. You just have to multiply by 1/3. Obviously, even in the case of a cone, you can simplify it. Let's simplify this equation. You could say that this is the area of a rectangle is length times width and then times height and then times 1/3. So you could just use this to be the volume of a rectangular pyramid or rectangular based pyramid. So this rectangle, they call this the base of the pyramid. Same here. The cone, the circular area is the base of the cone. Again, we can also rewrite this as 1/3 times the area of, or the volume of, a rectangle. It's the same concept because this is the area of a rectangle, length times width times height. So the same exact concept can be done for all these different shapes. For a square-based pyramid, exactly again the same thing. Area of a square is equal to side squared or a squared. And the volume is going to be equal to, we're going to look at the third dimensional height. It's just going to be the area of the square times the height. This is going to be equal to a squared times h, but the difference is we have to multiply all of it by 1/3. Multiply all of it by 1/3. If you notice this is basically saying it's equal to the volume of 1/3 times the volume of a square prism. Same exact concept. Again, moving to a triangular based pyramid, exactly the same thing. We're going to find the volume by, first we know the area of the base at the bottom here. This is the base. Okay. This triangle over here, we know that the area of that triangle is equal to base times height over 2. Okay. But keep in mind one thing that I will show you now. All right. Here, in this case, I said height. However, if you notice here, this isn't the same height we're talking about. When we're talking for a triangle, let's like draw this as if it's in this form. When we're talking about a triangle here, the naming of it is called length. They called this the L. So from this shape, the area is going to be the base times the L, where L is the perpendicular height. Because if you notice here, this is the perpendicular height L. Okay? Because we're looking at the triangle. I hope that doesn't cause too much confusion. Then we will do the exact same concept, the volume, height. Volume is going to be just the area of the triangle times the height. Again, multiply all of it by 1/3 because it is in a pyramid shape. Okay? If you notice, this is again the same thing. The volume is going to be 1/3 the area of the volume of a rectangular triangular prism. Same exact thing. Now, let's simplify this first so you could just get an idea. So this is going to be base times length times height all over 2. So it's other words, it's going to be 1/6 times base times length times height. Okay. Again, this is just simply, if we want to rewrite it, this is the volume of a triangular prism. Moving on to our last, shape, it is a sphere. A sphere, unlike everything else, is a little bit different. We know that what is a sphere? First of all, a sphere is basically a circular ball shape where from the center of the sphere to any point within the 3D dimension as well. Okay, this is all equal to the radius. It has all an equidistant radius from each point. So it's basically the perfect shaped ball. Okay, so the radius or the volume of this is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. That's it. This is the only one where there is no specific derivation. There is, but it's a bit messy, so I didn't want to go through it. But it's simply just r cubed, and you will multiply by 4/3 instead of 1/3. That's it. Okay, so for a sphere, just memorize this as the volume of a sphere. And that's basically it. That's the whole concept of volumes. sphere يعني ايه؟ كرة. sphere معناته كرة، بس كرة بالضبط مدورة. يعني الحجم مال الكرة بالضبط صح، بالضبط كل الكرة مدورة بطريقة انه perfectly circular او perfectly spherical. زين؟ يعني ما يكون كرة مثلا شوي مضغوطة عليها فصايرة نفس يعني the ball is not something like this, you know. This isn't a sphere. A sphere, it has to look exactly circular. يعني it has to be a perfect circle. Okay? That's what a sphere is. Any questions about volumes, about the theory of volumes? So we can just start jumping into questions now. Most of these you notice that you don't have to really memorize, you just have to understand how to get the volume. So I'll just do a quick recap. Volume is the 3D shape of a 2D shape. Okay, the volume is basically the 3D extension of a 2D shape. So we have for a rectangle or for any volume that is, you know, consistent, that is equal in size, you just take the area of that face of the shape and then you multiply it by the length, the height, the width, whatever is the new dimension, the third dimension that you are adding to the shape. And you could do it with all the shapes of triangles, parallelograms, or trapezoids, and you will be forming a prism. With the circle, you'll be forming a cylinder. The cylinder can be either yani, on its face or on the side. It's exactly the same equation. Just make sure that you are multiplying with the extended, the new dimension, dimension الجديد that is being introduced. For in the case of cones and pyramids, it depends on the base of it. So the cone, this is a cone. The cone always has a base, a circular base. It's exactly the same as a cylinder, but only 1/3. We have to multiply it by 1/3. For a rectangular based pyramid, it's the same as a rectangular prism, but you have to multiply it by 1/3. This is V rectangular prism. Okay, but you have to multiply it by 1/3. Same thing here. It's a square prism, but you multiply it by 1/3. Same thing with the triangle. It's a triangular prism, but you have to multiply it by 1/3. And then for sphere, it is just 4/3 pi r cubed for the volume. How much inside the sphere can, you know, can it handle volume? Let's move on to the problems. Since there is no questions, we'll do these week 10 questions first. انزين. The height of a square prism, again, when we come to word problems, it is critical, very important, and you guys read the question step by step and understand it before trying to starting, you know, the solution and solving it, and go word by word. So how I usually solve my questions is I read it one by one. So the height, I read the height, I write the letter H instantly because I know it's talking about the height of a square prism. So I know that the shape instantly is going to look something like this. It's going to be a square in the front, and then it's going to have a length because this is a square prism. Okay? This is how I usually solve any of my questions. I instantly draw it out, write all the givens step by step. So the height is 25 feet. And the base area is 784 feet. So the base area, so they're saying that the height here, this height, H, is 25 feet. And the base area, which is the shaded part, you could look at the bottom base area here. The base area, okay, this full area, this shaded part, okay, this area is equal to 784 feet squared. What is the volume? What do we sketch the figure? I already did that instantly. Well, how do we find out volume? Remember, volume is nothing for, especially for prisms, it's nothing but the area of the shape, in this case of the square or of the base, let's say, not the square, times the height, the extension. In this case, 25. So the volume is simply going to be equal to 784 feet squared times 25 feet. The volume is equal to, put that into the calculator, 784 times 25, which is 19600, 19,600 feet cubed. Yes, this is one more thing I didn't go through. Feet, the unit for area we saw was squared. For a normal unit, it's just feet. There's no squared or cubed for just a singular unit or the perimeter. And for a volume, the volume is always going to be cubed because you are multiplying here feet squared with feet. So when you are doing the multiplication here, you're multiplying feet squared by feet. This will give you feet cubed. Okay? That's the idea. That's why it is going to be in feet cubed. All right? Any questions about this concept or question 1? I think it's pretty clear for everyone. Let's move on to question 2. Before moving on to question 2, can you guys just give me a thumbs up or an okay in chat just to make sure that everyone is actually with me and you're understanding what I'm saying? Okay, good. I'm just making sure and you guys aren't too lost. Good. Tamam. Moving on to Ali, do you have a question or just telling me that you're paying attention? Okay, I'm gonna assume you don't have any questions. Moving on, the base of a prism, question 2. The base of a prism is a parallelogram. Again, see that the first step I will do is I will sketch this parallelogram. I know that the base is it's going to look a little weird, but it's going to look something like this because it's a parallelogram. Okay. The base is a parallelogram. Okay. Whose base and height are 7.2 yards. So whose base, let's call this the base, or let's call this the base, okay? And let's call this the height, okay? And 5.6 yards respectively. So the base B is equal to 7.2 yards, and the height H is equal to 5.6 yards. In a question, when it says respectively, that means in order. بما معنى, it said base and height. So it started with base. So first thing it talked about was the base. So the first value is for the base. And then it talked about the height. So the second value is the height. That's what respectively means. يعني أول شيء البase is 7.2, بعدين الheight is 5.6 yards. Find the volume of the prism if its length is 4.4 yards. Now, let me just redraw this because I don't like the way it looks. Okay, so, oops. Okay, so we have a parallelogram. Okay, let's call this is our base of the parallelogram. Okay, this is the base of the parallelogram. At the bottom here, this is B, and the height is the perpendicular height over here. This is the height, H. Okay, and of course, we're talking about a prism. You can put the base wherever you want in a 3D shape. Yani it doesn't have to be at the bottom. It doesn't have to be on the right side. It doesn't have to be at the front. You just have to understand where your base is. And then the third dimension, the new dimension, is where the extension is. Okay? لأن فرضا يعني if I took this and I rotated it يعني حركته على صوب اليمين البيس مالي صار الحين على اليمين بس it's the exact same shape. Nothing has changed. So of course it's going to have an extension like this in the shape of a parallelogram. It's going to look like something like that تقريبا. And this is our length, which is equal to 4.4 yards based on the question. The length is 4.4 yards, and we need to find the volume. So, what is volume? Volume in general for any shape, any prism shape. Volume is area times the new extended length or dimension, or in this case, it's the length. So volume is going to be equal to, what is the area of a parallelogram? It's base times height times the length, L. So volume is equal to, what is the base? 7.2 yards. What is the height? 5.6 yards. And what is the length? 4.4 yards. Volume is equal to, you put that all in the calculator, 7.2 times 5.6 times 4.4. It's going to be 177.408 yards cubed. What does the question say? Round your answer to 2 decimal places. Round your answer to 2 decimal places. So 2 decimal places, that means we have to look at the decimal point. This is 1 decimal place. This is 2 decimal places. So we have to stop here. We look at this number. Is it larger or less than 5? It's 5 or greater. So it's greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, I should say. We have to add 1 to this volume for rounding. So it's going to be 177.41 yards cubed. Okay, easy. Any questions? No questions. That's good. معناتها كلكم مفروض خلاص 100 في الامتحان. مفروض يعني everyone should get 100 in the exam يعني. مفروض. انزين. Fatma has brought a paper cone to make a doll. انزين. فشو مكتوب أول شيء؟ شنو مكتوب؟ paper cone. يعني عندكم a cone shape. You have a cone. Okay? You know that this has to have a radius r عشان you are able to solve, and then a height h over here, so you are able to solve it. Now we continue the question. To make a doll, the cone has a height, okay, already given. The height is 11 inches. And a radius, r, is 3.5 inches. By sketching the figure, which we already did, find the volume of the cone. What is the volume of the cone? Use pi as 3.14, and the answer should be to 2 decimal places. Okay. What is the volume of a cone? يلا باكم انتوا تجاوبون في الشات. What is the volume of a cone? No cheating. Again, a reminder. Look at the base. Always look at the base. The concept of volume is always going to be, for any volume in general, it's going to be the area times the extended dimension, the height. In the case of conical or pyramid shapes, you have to multiply by 1/3. Okay? I'm not memorizing these. I understand the concept to apply it. It's always the area of the face, in this case, the area of the base shape, times the extended height. So the volume is going to be equal to the area of a circle, so area of a circle, times the height, times 1/3. What is the area of a circle? يلا هاي سهلة. What is the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So we have to substitute this into our area. This goes into the area of the circle. So volume is going to be equal to pi r squared times the height, all of it times 1/3. We plug in the numbers. So pi is 3.14 times r squared. What is r? Given as 3.5 inches squared. Okay? Times the height, which is 11 inches, all times 1/3. So the volume is going to be equal to, plug it all in the calculator, 3.14 times 3.5 squared times 11 times 1 over 3. And you'll get 141.03833. To 2 decimal places, the volume is equal to 2 decimal places, 1, 2. So we have to look at this. This is greater than 5. The 8 is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5. So we're going to have to do plus 1 here. The volume is 141.04. What is the unit? Inches cubed. Inches cubed. Okay? No, it does not become pi r cubed when it comes to volume. Don't make that mistake. The only time r is cubed is for a sphere. When you have a sphere, يعني عندكم كرة. That is the only time you use r cubed. You never use r cubed for prisms or cones or anything like that, or any cylinder or cylinders, I should say. You're using r squared always. The only time you use r cubed is for a sphere. Only. And that's the only like unique case or situation. Okay? Because if you think about it, the radius does not matter. The radius does not matter على حسب الطول ماله. الراديوس ما يأثر على how long or how height this is. The height itself will change the dimension of this, not the radius. The radius only changes the area over here. But the height of this cone that goes up and down is what controls the volume of the cone. كل ما الهايت طول كل ما الفوليوم بيزيد. فالR should not be cubed. The R, it only determines the opening shape of it. That's it. Same case in a cylinder. That's why you have to multiply by the third dimension. And the R is just going to be the area of a circle. Again, always follow this concept. Volume is the area, the base shape area times the extended height. In the case of a cone or the or pyramids, you're going to just multiply by 1 over 3. That's it. Any more questions? Let's move on. Let's see if there is. The height of a triangle pyramid and volume. If the base of the pyramid is determined space. Okay, so this is another volume question. انزين. The height of a triangular pyramid. I stop right here. Triangular pyramid شو يعني؟ Triangular pyramid معناته عندي مثلث. زين. It will look something like this تقريبا يعني. Something like that. Okay. Just to make it look a bit better, I'm gonna erase this shape inside here, and I'm gonna do it dotted. So a triangular pyramid like this. Okay. The height of the triangular pyramid. Now we know, obviously, we know that this is the height over here. This is H. Okay. And we know that this is the base of the triangle. And this is the perpendicular height, you could say, which is up to the center over here. The perpendicular height, L. Okay? We'll call it L. Let's read the question and see what it says. The height of the triangular pyramid. Make sure when you're reading the height, it says of the pyramid. The pyramid معناته it's talking about this specific height. Let's change the color so you don't get confused. This height up to the center, okay? It's not the dotted line, it's this height up to the center of the pyramid. That is your H. This is your height of the triangular pyramid, okay? So this H is equal to 10 yards. And the volume is 100. So they gave us the total volume already, which is 120 cubic yards, which is yard cubed, okay? If the height of the base triangle of the pyramid, يعني, if we look at this shape over here, this base triangle, okay? If we look at this shape, which is the base triangle, when we take it out and draw it by itself, it will look something like this. Okay, if we're taking it out, where this is the base, and this is the height, which we will call L in this case. Okay? This triangle, let me just clarify that this is the center. This triangle is this one, basically. It's the triangle over here. This is the triangle. It's not the full shaded area. It's just this shaded area. Okay? Because we're talking about to the center of the prism. Now, or of the pyramid. Now, if the height of the base of the triangle, the height of the base of the triangle is 9 yards. So we know that L is equal to 9 yards. This L over here, L, is 9 yards. Determine its base. We need to find the base B. Again, how do you solve this? You apply the volume of a pyramid that you know. What is the volume of the pyramid? The triangular pyramid, the volume or the volume of any pyramidal shape, the volume V is equal to area of the base of the shape, in this case it's a triangle, times the extended height, in this case H, or the red H. All right? So let's just do this so there's no confusion. So the volume, if we want to substitute, first of all, before even going to the volume, what is the area of a triangle? What is the area of this triangle? It's equal to the length times the base over 2, because the length in this case is the height, the perpendicular height of the triangle. So we're just calling it L. L times B over 2. So if we substitute that here, V is equal to L times B over 2 times the height, the red height. Okay? So the volume is going to be equal to, in other words, we could just simplify this. Sorry, there's one step missing. We're talking about a pyramid. We have to multiply all of this by 1 over 3 by 1 over 3, because we're talking about a pyramid shape and not a triangular prism. So we have to multiply by 1 over 3. So the volume is 1 over 3. I'm just going to simplify all of this. It's going to be 1 over 6, the 1 over 3 times the half, times length times base times the red height. Okay? We have the volume. So the volume, we have it. The length or the height of the pyramid base, we have it. This is nothing but this shaded part is this, okay? The base, we also have, we don't have, we need to find. This is what we need to find, okay? This is what we need to find, the question mark over here. And the red height we also have. So now we just can substitute and solve for B. Yani we could just plug in all the numbers and solve for B. How do we do that? So we know that the volume is 120 yards cubed is equal to 1 over 6 times the length. What is the length? The length is 9 yards. 9 yards times the base, which we don't know, which we need to find. I'm going to keep it in blue. The base times the red height, which is 10 yards. And then now we just solve the equation for B. Solve for B. Okay? How do we solve for B? Just now it's just a basic algebra. So we will first multiply both sides. So we have 120 is equal to 1 over 6 times 9 times B times 10. Okay? We will multiply both sides by 6. We will multiply here by 6 and here by 6 to cancel out the 6. So we will get 6 times 120, which is 720 is equal to 9 times B times 10, We can simplify this. We could just do the 9 times the 10 directly. Okay, so it's going to be 720 is equal to 90 times B. We divide both sides by 90. 90s will cancel here. The B is going to be equal to 720 over 90, which is equal to 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 8. 8 what? 8 yards, because this is the distance, and the units given are in yards. So it's going to be equal to 8 yards. We find, now that we found the base, that's it. That's the final answer. We found the base, and this is what the question wanted. Determine its base. Did you understand? So this is basically just algebra, this part. The main concept is understanding how to find the volume, how to put everything into the equation, plug it in, so you can find the final base. Questions. أقدر أضرب سيدة ب 1 over 6. شوف. You guys can memorize any of these equations. You can memorize it and you can apply it directly. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you forget it, بتتوهقون if you don't understand the concept. Also, if you are multiplying by 1 over 6, make sure you understand what you are multiplying by 1 over 6. Yani, you know, it's just going to be L times B times H. Yani, you could just memorize that the pyramid is just 1 over 6 times L times B times H. You could do that. There's nothing wrong with that. This is if you're doing memorization. There's nothing wrong with that. Me, I solve usually by understanding, not by memorizing equations. But you could do it that way, Ali. Can you recap the answer? Okay. I'm going to recap everything again, just very quickly. Let's read the question again. The height of a triangular pyramid, we know that this is a triangular pyramid. We drew it. The height is going to be to the center. So I drew it in red because it's talking about the pyramid itself and not the base. It's 10 yards. The volume, the total volume of this pyramid, or triangular pyramid, is also known as a tetrahedron. So if you read in the question, it says tetrahedron or triangular pyramid, it's the same. Anyways, the volume of this triangular pyramid is 120. The length of the pyramid. If the height of the base triangle, I should say, the length here, L, it's not actual length, it's the base of triangle, not triangular pyramid of the triangle. This triangle over here. Okay, so this is the L, the height. We just named it L. Okay, the height L is 9 yards. Determine its base. So we just apply the volume that we know, the equation, which is area times the extended dimension. In this case, it's the height. Because it's a pyramid shape, we multiply by 1 over 3. We know that the area of the base triangle is equal to the height of the base, which is L, times the base divided by 2. This we are going to plug in and then multiply by height. Now that we simplified this equation of the volume, we just plug in all the numbers that we know, which is the volume, the height of the base named L, and the base itself, which we don't have the value of and we're trying to solve for, and the height of the actual pyramid, the triangular pyramid. We substitute all of these numbers, do algebra, and we find our final answer. Okay, Asai, clear? Is the recap good enough? Good. Moving on, let's see if there's any other questions. The diagram below shows a rectangular base pyramid with the width of the volume. What is its base length? Okay, good. Let's do this. The diagram below shows a rectangular based pyramid. Again, we already have the diagram. I don't need to draw anything. With the width of 8 centimeters, it shows us the width over here. The width over here, 8 centimeters, and the height of 20 centimeters, it gives us the height, and it's already drawn. If the volume of the pyramid is 800 centimeters cubed, now that's something we need to write down. Volume is equal to 800 centimeters cubed. What is the base length? Very, very, very easy, straightforward. Exactly the same concept we did earlier. The only difference is the base is now a rectangular base. So, equation of volume. What is volume? Volume is the area of the base, so in this case, the area of the rectangle, times the extended height. In this case, it's the 20 centimeters, so H. So I'm just going to write that H is equal to 20 centimeters. And then let's name this the length, and let's name this W. So W is equal to 8 centimeters, and the length we need to find. Okay? So area of a rectangle times H, of course, because this is a pyramid, we have to multiply by 1/3. Volume is equal to, before doing that, what is the area of a rectangle? Everyone should know this by now. What is the area of a rectangle? Type in chat. I want all of you to type in chat what the area of a rectangle is. All of you, all of you, all of you. Even if you're copy pasting, I want you all to just write what is the area of a rectangle. راقدين شوها. Area of a rectangle, Ali. Rectangle, not a triangle, of a rectangle. Just a basic rectangular shape. This rectangle over here. What is the area of this rectangle? Yes, length times width. This خلاص, this يعني you have to have it fully memorized. Again, Abdullah, I am talking about a rectangle, not a triangle. rectangle اللي هو مستطيل. Triangle اللي هو مثلث. Rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. I'm just talking about area. I am not talking about a 3D shape. This is in 2D. Rectangle. Okay, the area of a rectangle, which is 2D. Length times width. Now we can plug it in back into the equation. Length times width times height, which is the third dimensional new third 3D introduced dimension, which is the extension of the rectangle. And because it's in a pyramid shape, we multiply by 1/3. Now we can just plug in all the numbers. The numbers, the volume, we have it. We have the volume, okay? We have the width, we have the height. We just don't have the length. We need to solve for the length. Solve. Okay? Again, just plugging in all the numbers now. What is the volume? 800 centimeters cubed. 800 centimeters cubed is equal to the length, which we don't know. We're trying to find the length, times the width, which is 8 centimeters, times the height, which is 20 centimeters, times 1/3. Okay? Now we can just start doing algebra to solve. So 800 is equal to L times 8 times 20. I will just simplify from now. 8 times 20 is 160 times 1/3. Multiply both sides by 3. Multiply here by 3. So we can cancel the 3. It's going to be 800 times 3, which is 2400, is equal to L times 160. Now we have to divide both sides by 160. 160. This will cancel. So L is equal to 2400 over 160, which is equal to 15 centimeters. And that's it. Any questions? Anything not clear? Again, like I said earlier, you can either memorize the volume directly, you can do it through derivation. سووا بطريقتكم على راحتكم, whatever helps you guys يعني better understand. My recommendation is understanding this formula, because even in the exam, إذا ضيعته أو نسيته أو خربطته, you will always remember the area, so you can move on from there. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Let's see if there's any more. Height, okay, maximum cups to place into container. Okay, perfect. This is another good volume question. طلع بس worksheet 1 شكل اللي surface area. انزين. In the diagram, a rectangular container, so we can already see this, a rectangular container with the dimensions 10 inches by 15 inches by 20. So 10 inches the height, 15 inches is the width, and 20 inches the length, is to be filled with water using a cylindrical cup whose radius is 2 inches. يعني لو تلاحظون هني كتبوا 4. This is the diameter. The radius is half the diameter. Diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. فإحنا قالوا لنا الراديوس يساوي 2 inches. The diameter will be equal to 2 times 2, which is 4 inches. عشان شي هني كاتبين 4 inches لأن this is from the outside point to the outside point. Radius will be from the center. Okay? Moving on. And whose height is 5 inches. معطينا the height is 5 inches. What is the maximum number of full cups of water can be placed into the container without the water overflowing the container? معناته كم glass ماي من هالشيب هالحجم، كم glass من هذا يوم ترسون هالجلاس كامل وتحطونه في البوكس هذا، كم مرة تقدرون تسوون هالشيء بدون ما يعني ينشب الماء برا، يستوي overfill في الصندوق هذا. how do you do this? You have to first find the total volume of this and the total volume of this. Let's do that step by step. Round your answer to the nearest whole number and use pi to 3.14. So step by step. First step. Let's do this as number 1 and let's do this as number 2. Okay? So let's start with number 1. Volume is equal to what? The volume is equal to, in the case of a rectangular prism, it's equal to the area of a rectangle times the extended length. In this case, let's say it's 15, which is just 15. Okay? This is the shape, which is 20 by 10. Okay? This 20 and this 10. Okay? Because that's the height. This height over here, this height is also 10. So 20 by 10, the rectangle. Volume is going to be equal to, what's the area of the rectangle? Area is equal to 20 times 10. So 20 times 10 times 15. Volume is going to be equal to, put this all in a calculator, 20 times 10 times 15 is 3,000. 3,000 what? We are given everything in inches, and inches, inches, inches. So this is going to be inch cubed. Tamam? Let's move on. Number 2. Volume of the cylinder, okay, is equal to, what is the volume of a cylinder? Again, exactly same concept. Area of cylinder times the extended height h. In this case, it's 5 inches. This extended height over here. Okay. What's the area of a cylinder? So, or of a circle, I mean. This is the area of a circle, not a cylinder. Okay. Area of a circle. Area, we have a circle here. This is the circle. We know that this is 4 inches, 2 inches, which is the radius. This is the given radius, 2 inches. So what is the area? Area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. So we substitute that here. The volume of the cylinder is equal to the area of the circle, which is pi r squared times 5 inches, or we could just straight up write 3.14 times r squared, which is 2 squared times 5 inches. Make sure you are using r and not d. Okay? You are selecting r and not d. Do not confuse. Putting all of this in the calculator, the volume of the cylinder is going to be equal to 3.14 times 2 squared times 5 inches. Final answer will be 62.8 inch squared. Now, as you see, this is separate. All I did was I found the shape of this, of the cylinder, and I found the shape of the volume, or the volume of the cylinder, sorry, and the volume of the rectangular prism. That's all I'm doing. الحين, how do we know if this can fill into, how many times can we use this to fill into this? It's very straightforward, logically, بالمنطق. If we have يعني الحين glass, زين, اقول لكم يعني forget a little bit about the question, this is just a separate concept. اذا اقول لكم الجلاس زين عندكم 10 متر كيوب داخله مثلا زين او سنتيمتر كيوب، وعندك بوكس، البوكس مالك عندك 20 سنتيمتر كيوب، كم مرة هالجلاس الفوليوم مال الكب زين كب عندك هذا 20 سنتيمتر كيوب، كم مرة تقدر تحط هذا الجلاس تفوله وتحطه في هالكيوب؟ in this simple example إذا حطيت زين أول مرة بيستوي filled لين هني لين النص صح؟ اللي هو 10 سنتيمتر كيوب، لأن الجلاس 10 سنتيمتر كيوب. تمام؟ فهذا أول مرة first time. second time بتسويه بعد مرة، يعني الحين second time قاعدين ترسونه بالجلاس، الجلاس الحين جلاس ماي قاعد يطلع الماي ترسونه. المرة الثانية الحين لو بترسونه بعد مرة بينترس، الحين اوريدي منترس هني، منترس ماي بينترس بعد مرة ب10 لين هني، فصار 10 وهني 10 اللي هو لو تزيدونهم ببعض يستوي 20. انزين هذا هو المنطق اللي قاعد يقول لكم. كم مرة اقدر اسوي انا هالشيء قبل ما يتفول هذا، قبل ما يتفول البوكس. فعشان انتم تحصلون هالشيء انتم لازم تقسمون البوكس الفوليوم كامل، الفوليوم مال هذا على الفوليوم مال الكب. That is the whole idea of this. Moving back to the question. زين moving back to the question. احنا الحين عندنا الفوليوم، عندنا الفوليوم of the rectangle يساوي كم؟ يساوي 3000. زين عندنا الفوليوم of the cylinder يساوي كم كان؟ 62.8 inch cubed. cubed هذا مو squared cubed. زين فعشان you find the total volume، الفوليوم how many times you can do this، لازم تقسمون الفوليوم of the rectangle divided by the volume of the cylinder. اوكي فاللي بتسوونه يعني 3000 قسمه 62.8 inch cubed، حطونه في الكالكوليتر 3000 divided by 62.8 جواب بيكون 47.7707. What is this answer? This is the number of times to fill the box. يعني كم مرة بترسون انتوا الجلاس عشان تحطونه في البوكس. ما في inches cubed، ما في inches cubed، الانشز cubed بيتكنسلون. This is the number of times. ما قاعدين الحين نتكلم عن فوليوم، احنا الفوليوم قسمناهم على بعض، فالانش كيوبد الانش كيوبد والانش كيوبد بيكنسلون بعض. الحين احنا قاعدين نتكلم عن the number of times. فاستوى 47.77. 48 غلط، بقول لكم الحين ليش. احنا هني قاعد يقول السؤال what is the maximum number of full cups of water that can be placed into the container without the water overflowing، يعني بدون ما الماء يبدأ يطلع برا. فإذا كان 47.7 times تقدرون تسوونه، معناته لو سوينا 47.8 أو أكثر، أو يعني بما معناه greater than this number بيستوي overflow. صح ولا لا؟ يعني لو رديتوا ترستوا الجلاس بعد مرة وسويتوا نص الجلاس بيروح داخل ونص الماي بيطلع برا من الجلاس الثاني، يعني بما معناه عندكم هذا الكونتينر بيكون واصل تقريبا لين هني الماي. اذا تبون جلاس ثاني فل، هذا الجلاس فل كامل زين متروس داخل، متروس الماي. اوكي اذا متروس نص هالجلاس بيروح داخل ونصه بيطيح على برا، إذا سويته 48 cups. هذا معناته 47.7، يعني نسبة بس من هالجلاس بيروح لك داخل ونسبة بتطلع برا. فهاو many full cups of water؟ ما نطالع 7، نقول بس 47 cups before it overflows. يعني صح ما صار exactly full، بس الفكرة انه هو ما قاعد يستوي overflowing. مفهومة النقطة ولا لا؟ The idea is you don't want it to overflow. You don't want to overflow it. يعني الحين if you did the 47 cups, if you put 47 cups of water, you will reach a point here, very close to the end. If you add the 48th cup of water, if you empty a little bit of it, to be more precise, 0.7% of it, in the 0.7 of it, it's fine. But if you do 48, you are going to empty all of it and it will start overflowing. فاحنا we want it not to overflow. So the maximum number of cups is 47 cups. Does that make sense? Any questions about this? زين. بمعنى ان انا I just noticed in the answers in the answer key it says 48. But actually it's not correct. It should not be 48 based on the wording of the question. لأن لو تلاحظون what is the maximum number of full cups؟ قاعد يقول لكم full cups، يعني ما تقدرون تحطون نص glass. what is the maximum without water overflowing؟ فما بتسوون normal rounding. زين. round your answer to the nearest whole number. هاي السؤال بصراحة فيها شوية خلل، فيها غلطة. يعني المفروض حتى ما يقول لكم round your answer، لأنه already قاعد يقول the maximum number of full cups, so it's going to be a whole number. Okay? So make sure you understand the question. طالما already there is a mistake in the actual solution with it saying 48, I guess they will not pay too much attention to this detail. But make sure you understand that concept اللي أنا شرحته. إن this has to be full cups, so you cannot just fill the cup to half and fill it. And it should not overflow. لأن if you fully dump the 48th cup inside that box, it will overflow. زين. That's why round your answer is just an it does not make sense saying round your answer in this case. لأن they're already saying the maximum number of full cups. Full cups معناته it has to be a whole number. ما عندكم انتم ربع glass، 3/4 glass، لا full cups. هذا الفكرة. That's why في شوية خلل في السؤال. I just saw the answer sheet بعد مكتوب 48 cups, which if you are ignoring this part in the maximum number of full cups, you are right. If you are ignoring without water overflowing, you are correct. That's how you will round your answer. بس لأن the question says this, it should be 47 cups. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions here. Last question. Week 10. Ali has a rectangular prism with a length of 12 centimeters, a width of 4 centimeters, and an unknown height. Again, to solve questions like these, step by step. Ali has a rectangular prism with a length of 12 centimeters. So what does he have? A rectangular prism. Done. We draw a rectangular prism. Okay. A rectangular prism with a length of 12 centimeters, a width of 4 centimeters. So we can say that this is the length, this is the width, and this is the height. تقدرون تقولون انتوا اي شيء تبون اللينث او الويدث او الهايت. It really does not matter. اهم شيء you just understand your shape. Okay? Now, length of 12 centimeters, width of 4 centimeters, and an unknown height, h is unknown. He needs to build another rectangular prism. Okay, so we have to draw another rectangular prism with a length of another rectangular prism where the length is 5 centimeters. So let's call this A مثلا. Okay. A is equal to 5 centimeters. And the same height as the original prism. فال H هني is the same as the H هني, which we don't know yet. We'll just keep as H. So the same height. The volume of the two prisms will be the same. And the volume V1, let's call this V1. And this is V2. Okay. V1 has to be equal to V2. All right. V1 has to be equal to V2. Find the width in centimeters of the new prism. فاحنا عندنا هني W، خلينا نسميه W2 و L1 و W1 عشان ما يستوي خربطة. اوكي. انزين. let's erase this A and let's call this L1 W1. This is L2 W2. This over here is L2 L1 W1. الهايت height 1 و height 2 يساوون بعض. H1 is equal to H2 based on the question. The height is the same height as the original prism. ف H1 equal H2 equal H اثنيناتهم. وما عندنا الرقم مال H. Find the volume of the two prisms will be the same. فبعد volume 1 و volume 2 يساوون بعض, which is already also given. Find the width in centimeters. So what do we need to find? This is our target, W2. This is what we need to find. Now, step by step. Let's look at the first shape. Then, let's not look at numbers. Let's just look at variables with dimensions. Volume 1 is equal to length 1 times width 1 times height. We already know this. Then, volume 2 is equal to, let's do it this way. Volume 2 is equal to length 2 times width 2 times height. ليش height؟ لأن الهeight is equal for both. فالheight does not change. What do we need to find? We need to find this W2. So I'm going to keep this in blue عشان we look at W2. This is what we need to find. Okay? What do we know? We know that V1 is equal to V2. حلو. So we can say that this equation 1 and equation 2 are equal. Equation 1 is equal to equation 2. Then the V1 and V2 are equal. So we could say that L1 times W1 times H is equal to L2 times W2 times H. Okay, times W2 times H. Hello? What else can we do here? We know that this H is equal to this H. We could just divide both sides by H. Divide both sides by H. What will happen? H's will cancel out. H will cancel out. شو بيبقى لنا؟ L1 times W1 is equal to L2 times W2. Okay? W2. And now we have a very simple equation where we know L1. L1 we know is 12. W1 we know is 4. And L2 is equal to 5. So we just plug in all these numbers now. So L1 is equal to 12 centimeters times W1, which is equal to W1 4 centimeters is equal to 5 centimeters times W2. And now we solve for W2. How do we do that? 12 times 4 is equal to 5 times W2. And then we divide both sides by 5 to cancel out the 5. W2 is equal to 12 times 4 over 5. 12 times 4 divided by 5. It's going to be equal to 9.6 centimeters. And we found W2. Okay? Any questions? I will just do a recap. The heights, they were given to be equal, so we equated them both to h. زين هني عندنا الهايت h بعد. Length عندنا one length, one width for the first prism, and then a different length and a different width for the second prism. We know that the volumes are equal. The volume of the first prism is the same as the volume of the second prism. So we wrote the equations of each volume, and then we equated the equation 1 with equation 2. Once we equated them, we were left with a simple L1 times W1 times H equal to L2 times W2 times H. H's will cancel. We divide both sides with H, they will cancel. And then we will only have L1, W1 is equal to L2 times W2. We have all the values of L1, W1, and L2. We solve the equation and we find W2. Any questions? This is نختم هني week 10. We'll go into week 11, but we'll just take a 10-minute break, a little bit longer maybe. And then let's say until 3:45. We'll come back at 3:45. Okay. I will be here for the next 2-3 minutes if you have any questions. But we will come back to solving the remaining questions in week 11 at 3:45. مو مهم شنو يساوي ال H، أهم شيء نعرف إن ال H يساوون بعض. لأنه يوم نعرف إن ال H يساوون بعض نقدر نقسم both sides ال H عشان يتكنسل. بس مو مهم شو يساوي ال H. الفكرة هني you are solving for W، فأنت ال H بس تبين تفتكين منه بطريقة. لو عندك الرقم أو ما عندك إياه بس تبين يعني you get rid of it. So this is how you do it. لأن they're equal, it makes it easy to get rid of. No problem. خلنا نشوف بعض الأسئلة. إنسان. Sharpened pencil has form of a right circular cone attached to the cylinder. خلي أحطه in a separate page. Has a form of a right circular cone attached to a cylinder, each with the same radius. The pencil is 190 meters long. Okay. If the volume of the pencil is this much, find the x. Same exact concepts that we are doing. بس هني we will get more into this لأن this is combined shapes. خلنا هاي week 11 content يعني. خلنا we will solve in week 11. You will get the idea there. وبعدين إذا ما فهمته بنشوفه. خلنا نشوف هني شنو بعد صور. The bike has a wheel of diameter 26 inch. The counter for this bike can count the number of revolutions that it will make one day. سؤال حلو هذا. زين احنا if you remember خلا, I will solve this when we come back from the break عشان I want everyone to see the solution for this. Okay? The recordings will be available. The recording for session 1 is already available. If someone يعني in chat can just send the recordings back in this chat for anyone who wasn't here yesterday. Or recordings for this session will be available as soon as I'm done with the actual session. Are most of you back? Are most of you here? Just raise your hand or type in chat if you're back عشان I get an idea how many people are back. Okay. Okay, we'll just wait a bit more then. Keep your hands raised. If you're back, just keep your hands raised, okay? Keep your hands raised, it's fine. So I can just know when to start. Again, if you are back, just keep your hands raised so I know that you're back. Yeah, I feel like most of you are back. You could put your hands down now. We will start with the question. There's a question someone asked. We will do that one, and then we'll go to week 11. Insane. Let's see here. Okay. So let's look at this question. This question says the bike has a wheel of a diameter of 26 inches. Okay. 26 inches, that means the diameter D is equal to 26 inches. Remember, diameter is not the same as radius. What does this mean? The radius is going to be equal to half the diameter. Half the diameter, which is half 26, which is equal to 13 inches. Okay, keep that in mind. The counter for this bike can count the number of revolutions. What does that mean? هنا عندنا tire cycle يعني. Okay, this wheel. Let's say the starting point is here. Let's choose a different color. Let's say the starting point is here. Okay. The number of revolutions is how many times this wheel will turn completely and come back to this exact same point. So what do we know about this? What is this? This is the circumference of the circle. This is what one revolution is how much one circumference is, يعني the distance of one circumference, basically. So one day the counter shows 21 revolutions. So this happened 21 times. 21 times. Okay. What is the distance that has been covered? So how can we find that? First, we need to find the circumference because we need to know how many times this wheel has turned completely. So let me just explain the concept. So if we have a wheel, okay, we have a wheel. The circumference of it, if we cut it at here, okay, the distance the wheel has traveled, let's say it's rotating in this direction, okay, يعني it has to rotate. Let's look at this point, okay. If it rotates again for a small distance, this point will go up, صح? It will go up, so it will reach this point over here, and then eventually it will reach another point بعد if it keeps rotating. هذا الpoint of the tire, it will keep going, rotating with it. It will reach here, for example, and then finally it will reach back to the final revolution. Okay, so it will go, this point will go all the way back to the original starting point, and this is one revolution. زين, for a wheel. So basically, in other words, if we cut at this point and draw it as a line, يعني let's say we take a string around it, خيط ناخذ حوالينا ونمده ونسوي line واحد. That will be the complete distance that has been traveled. زين؟ يعني this is basically cutting this. If we cut it at here, this is the cut, and it has been opened and stretched out. This is the distance. This is your distance, D, distance. And what is it equal to? It's equal to the circumference of the entire circle, because it's the circumference. You're going, this point changes and moves, and we open it up. This is the entire circumference, as we explained previously in the areas. So one revolution is equal to the distance, I should say, distance of one revolution is equal to the circumference. زين? So the distance of 2 revolutions will be equal to how much? It will be 2 times the circumference. The distance for 3 revolutions will be equal to the distance, will be equal to 3 times the circumference. Okay, and so on and so forth. So in this case, the counter shows that there were 21 revolutions. So 21 revolutions, this is equal to the distance for 21 revolutions is equal to 21 times the circumference. So if we write this as an equation, distance D, all right, let's just call it distance so there's no confusion. It's going to be equal to 21 times, what is the circumference? Circumference C, what is it equal to? 2 pi r. So it's equal to 2 times 3.14 times r. What is the r? R, we found here earlier, was 13 inches. The radius is 13 inches. Okay? So the radius is 13 inches. So this is times 13. So finally, the total distance, it's just going to be this equation. We just put it in the calculator. 21 times 2 times 3.14 times 13, which is 1714.44 inches, because the radius is given in inches. Okay? There's no rounding, nothing has been asked. So this is going to be your final answer. It's going to travel a total distance of 1714.44 inches. The circumference المحيط، أظني المحيط، ما أنا مشكلة look in Arabic أنا ما أعرف الكلمات حق الدائرة. If someone can assist me with that I would appreciate it. بس I guess yes المحيط اللي هو اللي مفروض يكون البارامتر، يعني البارامتر سوري، اللي هو الcircumference، اللي هو هذا الأحمر هني، this shaded part over here, this shaded part. This is the circumference or the parameter, but in a circle it's called circumference. Okay? فأتوقع هذا هو المحيط. Make sense? Let's move on to شنو كتبه عشان أحل هذه الطريقة؟ ما فهمت شو سؤالك. شنو كتبه؟ منو اللي كتب؟ I did not understand your question. Insane. Let us move on. I'll do a quick recap again, just about this question. You are given the diameter of this wheel, okay? One revolution, okay? First of all, the first step is knowing the radius or the diameter of the wheel to get the values. So the radius is going to be equal to half the diameter. So it's 13 inches, which is given. The counter for revolutions, basically, يعني في counter يطلع لك كم revolution tire يكون. And one day the counter shows 21 total revolutions. شو معناته revolution? Revolution معناته how many times it goes a complete full circle. The distance of this full circle is equal to the circumference اللي هو المحيط. إنزين؟ الcircumference نعرف إن الإيكويشن ماله is 2 times pi times r. هذا الإيكويشن مال الcircumference. For how many revolutions? Every one revolution يساوي 1. every 2 revolutions بيساوي 2 times the circumference. فاحنا قال 21 revolutions معناته 21 times the circumference. فالايكويشن بيكون 21 times the circumference الايكويشن ماله is 2 times pi which is 3.14 times r which is the radius وبعدين بتطلع total distance. Now let's go to week 11 and start solving compound volumes. Remember, in areas, we do the exact same thing again in volumes. When we are adding volumes to each other, we just add, we find the volume of each shape separately, and then we are going to نجمعهم, we're going to sum them up and add. So what do we do? What's the question, first of all, asking? Find the volume of the following composite shapes using the appropriate formula. Round your answer to 1 decimal place and use pi as 3.14. We have 2 shapes. We have shape number 1 and we have shape number 2. Okay, let's start for shape number 1, finding the volume. Volume is always equal to the area of the base times, in this case, a circle, times a third dimension, in this case, let's call it the height h, and then it's a normal cylinder, so this is basically it. Volume is equal to area of a circle, reminder is pi r squared. So the volume is equal to pi r squared times h. We know that r is equal to how much? يلا منو يعرف how much is r here? I want to see if you guys can understand reading this figure. What is r in this case? هو مو بمجهول لا. 4.5. ليش? We are given the distance here is 9 feet. The distance here is 9 feet صح؟ من هني لين هني. It's a parallelogram, so من هني لين هني is also 9 feet. So from here to here, it's also 9 feet. But what is this? This is the diameter. Radius is equal to half the diameter. And we know that the diameter, excuse me, diameter is equal to 9 feet. So the radius is equal to half times 9. R is equal to 4.5 feet. Okay, so this is the R. What is our H? Our H, it's given. This is H. 10 feet. Okay, so H is equal to 10 feet. This is the trick when it comes to composite shapes and multiple shapes. Just like before, when we're in areas, you have to determine the diameters, the different shapes, the missing يعني dimensions based on other dimensions that are given. فالvolume is simply 3.14 times شنو R 4.5 feet squared times the height which is 10. Volume, put this all in the calculator. 3.14 times 4.5 squared times 10 is equal to 638, 35.85. 35.85 feet cubed. We're talking about volume, it's feet cubed because this is feet squared and this is feet. Okay, this is 1. 2. خلصنا من 1. We found the first volume. The second volume, what is it? A parallelogram. So volume is equal to the area of a parallelogram times the extended height or length or whatever. We will call this the extended length. Okay, we'll call this L. This side is L. All right. Now, what is the area of a parallelogram? It's equal to base times height. What is the base? Base is equal to 9 feet. This is our base, B. And this 8 feet is our height, H. So this is 9 feet. What is our height? It is equal to it is equal to 8 feet. Okay. The length L we know is equal to 14 feet. Now we just plug in all of this into the equation. So what is the area of a parallelogram? Base times height times the extended length. So volume is equal to, what's the base? 9 feet times 8 feet times 14 feet. Volume is equal to 9 times 8 times 14. 9 times 8 times 14. 1008 feet cubed. Okay? About the rounding. Do not round your answer until the end. You should round your final answer, not your calculation. Your calculation, keep it as it is. You will do the rounding at the final answer. Okay? So that's why I didn't round here. I'm going to round it at the end. Lesson will all be available online by tonight, inshallah. Also on YouTube. Now, done. We found the volume of this, found the volume of that. Now you guys tell me, what should we do? We found V1 and V2. So this is V1 and this is V2. What do we do? Very simply, yep, we just add V1, so volume here now. Total volume, okay, V total, let's call it VT, is equal to simply V1 plus V2, and that's it. So the volume total is equal to, what's V1? 635.85 plus, this is feet cubed, plus 1008 feet cubed. Volume total is simply going to be equal to, just add these, 635.85 plus 1008, 1643.85 feet cubed. Again, what did the question ask? Round to 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place, what does that mean? 1 decimal place, we go 1 here, okay? That's it. We want to stop here. We look at this. This is greater than or equal to 5, yes. So we're going to have to add 1. So the final answer will be 1643.9 feet cubed. And we're done. بنشوف يوم لازم نسوي نقص. Don't worry. We're just gonna go step by step, look at the basic ones now, and then if there is subtraction, I will show you how to do that as well. Easy? Any questions about this? Good, excellent. Let's move on. Let's do, okay, from question 1, which one do you want me to do? I'll do one more. You want me to do the pyramid one? Do you want me to do, actually, I'll do 2 more. Tell me, give me 2 more you want me to do. Give me one more. Which one? I want to know what you guys feel like is going to be difficult for you guys so I can help you guys with that. You want me to start with E? B and E? خلاص, let's do B and E. Let's start with B and then we'll go to E. عشان just ordering. Week 11, B. So, again, same exact concept. We're going to look at the triangular prism up top. This is an additional prism, so we'll look at this as our first shape. And then the second shape will be the full prism at the bottom. Okay? The full rectangular prism at the bottom. So let's start with the first shape. V1 is equal to area. Area of what? Of a triangle in this case, because it's a triangular prism. Times the extended length in this case. Let's call this L. Times L. Okay? What is the area of a triangle? Area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. The base is given as how much? Tell me. Answer in chat, quick. Base. What is the base of this triangle? I'll give you a clue. This is the base of the triangle. It's going to be equal to, yes, 20 meters. This is the trick. This is what you guys need to understand in composite shapes, knowing how to identify the sides. So 20 meters, because this side is equal to this side. They're all equal to each other. It's the same width or the same base. Now, what is the height? The height is given to be 7.5 meters. The height. Okay, 7.5 meters. This is H. This is B. What is the length L? L is equal to 20 meters. Already defined it. This is the L. Okay. Now, what do? We just plug in everything back. Area is base times height divided by 2 times L. Put in the numbers. Base is 20 times 7.5 divided by 2 times, this is meters. L is 20 meters. So V1 is equal to, put this all in the calculator, 20 times 7.5 divided by 2 times 20. It's equal to 1,500 meters cubed. Do the same exact thing for the second shape, V2. Remember, V2, if I want to draw the shape very quickly, shape is going to be just the rectangular prism at the bottom. Okay, this is the shape where this is 20 meters. The height here is 3 meters, and this length here is 30 meters. V2, area of the rectangle times the extended length. So you could look at it as from the top, from the bottom. Let's say this is our extension, the 30 meters. I'm just going to write it as 30 meters directly, this extension over here. Okay? V2 is equal to area of this rectangle. The area of this is equal to 20 times 3 times 30. V2, this is all in meters. V2 is going to be equal to, plug it all in the calculator, 20 times 3 times 30, 1,800 meters squared, meters cubed, sorry. Talking about volume. Done. What is the final step? V total is equal to V1 plus V2. Easy, very easy. So V total is going to be equal to 1,500 plus 1,800 meters cubed. Okay? Put it in the calculator. VT is going to be equal to 3,300 meters cubed. Very, very easy. The tricks here are to identify the dimensions that you are not sure about. That's the trick. That comes with practice. Let's go and do another one. Let's do C, because someone asked C and we have some time. Let's just do C, okay? And then we will move on to E. In this case, what are the two shapes we have? We have shape number 1, the pyramid, the square, or not square, sorry, the rectangular based pyramid. And then we have the rectangular prism, 2. I don't know. من وين طلع 3 ما أعرف. 2. Okay? Volume 1 is equal to, what is the volume of a pyramid? First step, 1 over 3 times something. We see a pyramid, we see a cone. It's going to be a third of something. Okay? So 1 over 3 times what? What is this? A rectangular shape. So the area of a rectangle times the height h. The height h. This is h. Okay? This 27 centimeters is h. Area of a rectangle is equal to, in this shape, the rectangular shape is 30, 15. Why? Because this is 30. This is 15. How did I know that? This is 30, so this has to be 30. Sorry, 21. This is 21, not 15. 21. Okay. Why not 1 over 6? ما في شيء اسمه 1 over 6. This is why I don't want you guys to memorize formulas. The area is always going to be 1/3. This is the equation I prefer you guys understand, because you will get so confused with 1 over 6. It is always 1 over 3 times the area the area of the shape, in this case it's a rectangle, times the height, times the extension. Okay? So it's always 1 over 3, a rectangle times height. Okay? Moving on. Area of the rectangle, the area here, is equal to 30 times 21. So 30 centimeters times 21 centimeters times height. What is the height? Height h is equal to 27 centimeters. So times 27 centimeters. V1, put this all in the calculator. You will get 30 times 21 times 27 divided by 3. We get 5,670 centimeter cubed. Yes, Muhammad, for all shapes that have a pyramid or any pyramid or cone with any base shape, always do 1 over 3 times the area of that shape, at the bottom, times the extended height. Okay, that's always going to be the case. Don't get confused by 1 over 6. Okay. Now, moving on to the second shape. Second shape is very simple. It's just a rectangular prism. Rectangular prism. What is it? Base area of the rectangular prism, of the rectangle, I mean, times the extension. In this case, we will call this the extension. Let's call it L, for example. L. Okay? It's not 30 times 15 because if you look here, this is the rectangle for V1. This is the rectangular, the shaded part here. This is the rectangle we are drawing. This is the rectangle we are drawing. This is the same as this rectangle. So the side of it is 21 and the other side is 30. Okay? 15 is just the height of this one. So again, what are we going to do? Now let's draw this rectangle. You can choose any area you want, okay? Any area you want. So I'm choosing this area. This area over here, okay? We know that this height, 15 centimeters over here. This is the same as this height over here. Same as this height, 15 centimeters. Okay? So if I draw just that shaded area, we have 30 by 15. In this case, we are using the 15. Okay? Now, V2 is going to be equal to, what's the area? Area here is equal to 30 times 15. Should know this by now. The L is equal to 21 centimeters. So 30 centimeters times 15 centimeters times 21 centimeters. Okay? V2, put this all in the calculator. 30 times 15 times 21. 9,450. Centimeters cubed. Tamam? Total volume. Total volume. What are we going to do? V total is equal to, in this case, we're just adding simple addition, is equal to V1 plus V2. V total is equal to, what's V1? 5,670 plus 9,450 centimeters cubed. Centimeters cubed. V total is going to be equal to, plug it into the calculator, 5670 plus 9450, 15,120 centimeters cubed. Okay, easy. Let's go to the last one, E. Same thing here, by the way, semicircle, just very quickly. Semicircle, you're going to find the semicircle on. Actually, let's do the semicircle one, just because it's not a full cylinder, it's a semi-cylinder, and then we'll move on to this, because I want you guys to understand that concept as well. Then, semicircle. Remember when we used to have a semicircle back in the day? We had to divide the full circle by half. This is the exact same thing we are going to do again. Let's call this cylinder, or half a cylinder, the first volume, and this is the second volume. I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to solve it completely. I'm just going to solve the number one part, okay? So for a full cylinder, okay, volume is equal to the area of a circle times the area of a circle. Volume is equal to the area of a circle for a full cylinder. Full cylinder. I want to keep this in blue so you don't get confused. It's not the actual shape we have. The full cylinder, area of the circle times the extended length or height. In this case, it's the extended length where this is L. Okay. This from here to here is L. In the case of a semicircle, half a cylinder, or a semicircular area, all you're going to have to do is the volume is going to be divided by 2. That's it. The volume V half is equal to 1/2 times V full times V full. That's it. That's all you will do in this case. And then you will solve exactly the same way. Eventually you will find V2, and then you will find V total is equal to V1 plus V2, and that's it. Done. Okay? بنوصل لعبد الله هذاك بنوصل له, don't worry. And then, did you understand the concept of a half a cylinder, what you have to do if you have a semicircular cross area? Cross-section area or surface area or whatever, you have to divide by 2. Anyone has any questions about this point? Because I'm not going to solve it fully. Okay, good. Let's move on to the last question that you guys wanted me to do. E. Now, let's take this as number 1. This is number 2, and this is number 1. Exactly the same way of solving. Don't get scared because you see it upside down or whatever. Exactly same area, same methods of solving, step by step. Number 1, V1 is equal to the area of a circle. This is a cylinder, so we have an area of a circle, cylinder. So area of a circle times the height, the extended height, or the length, or whatever you want to call it. Let's call it length. Let's call this L, which is equal to 3 feet. Okay? This is L. Circle. What is the area of a circle? We know that this circle over here, the given diameter D is equal to 6 feet. Diameter. They gave you the diameter. This is just the diameter, the total distance. This is equal to D. So find the radius. What is the radius? It's equal to half times the diameter. The radius is equal to 6 over half of 6, which is 3 feet. Okay? L, we know, is also 3 feet. Now we can just solve, plug in. Area of a circle. What is the area of a circle? Area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. So it's pi, which is 3.14, times r, which is 3 squared, times the length 3. V1 is equal to, put this all in the calculator, 3.14 times 3 squared times 3 is equal to 84.78 centimeters, feet cubed. Okay, because this is in feet. This is in feet. Done. We found our first volume. Second volume. Let me just redraw the shape very quickly. Something like this. Oops. Okay. Okay, this is the shape. This is the shape we have. We know that this is 9 feet. We know that this is 4 feet. We know that This top part, this is 7 feet. This part, and this part. Okay? Again, same exact thing. You can choose any face you want, any area. Let us select, just for fun, let us select this face. Okay? This is our area face. So this is our extension. This is the extension. The 4 feet is the extension. Let's call it, I don't know, let's call it W. Okay? Let's call it W, our extension. This is equal to W. So volume 2. So volume of a rectangle. It's the area, sorry, of a rectangle, area of a rectangle, times the extended width in this case. Okay? This is the shape we're looking at. So what is the area of that shape? If I redraw just that part, I just redraw that part. This is 9, this is 7. Area is equal to 9 times 7. Simple. Okay, this is just the same shaded area as the one we saw up top here. So substitute everything back in. V2 is equal to the area is 9 times 7 feet times 4 feet. V2 is going to be equal to 9 times 7 times 4, 252 feet cubed. And we're done. Now we just need to find the total volume. Total volume. V total is going to be equal to V1 plus V2. So V total is going to be equal to 84.78 feet cubed plus 252 feet cubed. V total is equal to, put this in the calculator, 252 plus 84.78, 336.78 feet cubed. In the question, I believe it mentions to 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place. So when what do we have to do? We have to look at this is 1 decimal place. Okay, we look at this number. It's greater than or equal to 5. So we have to add 1 here. So V total will be equal to 336.8 feet cubed, and we are done. To 1 decimal place, Aisha, be careful. That is considered 2 decimal places, so you have to remove the 0. It's going to be only 336.8 without any zeros after it. Okay? Yani, just to clarify. So don't write this as 1 decimal place. This is still 2 decimal places. This is wrong. All right? Any questions before we go to the other part, the other section? It's very easy, very straightforward. Just follow the steps. Let's see the next question. This one looks more fun even, and looks easier. صح? This one looks easier, right? بس بتذبحوني بس okay. Let's do the exact same concept as we did before. Remember, in areas, when we are removing, we are subtracting the area that we are removing. So the shaded area, the blue, that is our main area. So that's our number 1. And then our number 2 is the cone inside, the not shaded area, the white part. So eventually what we will do is V1 minus V2. That's the only difference here is that. Everything else is exactly the same solving. So V total eventually will be V1 minus V2. Let's start solving. 1, it's the cube. Or is it a cube? It is a cube. 29 feet, 29 feet, 29 feet. So they're all equal in size. For a cube, it's super easy. A cube, the volume is just simply the side cubed. You could just remember that, like a trick, a quick way of solving instead of doing area times whatever and all of that. Just for a cube means that this side is equal to this side, which is equal to the height as well, which is this side. They are all equal. Length equal width equal height equal A. cube. Okay? So V is equal to A cubed. So simply we can say V, we know that A is equal to 29 feet. V1 is equal to 29 feet cubed. V1 is equal to 29 cubed, which is 24,389 feet cubed. Done. This trick only for you. I mean, you can memorize all the equations if you want, but for a cube, only a cube meaning the length, width, and height of it is all equal. You can simply just put the dimension cubed. That's where the name comes from. Okay, so done. V2. This is the part we are trying to remove now, okay? Because the shaded area is only this blue part. This is it. This is the only area we want over here. This is the only area we want. We want to remove the volume of the cone, okay? We don't want, the cone does not exist inside, basically. So there's no volume. So we just want this shaded area. So how do we do that? How the red, what did we do? We found the entire complete area of the cube. That's what the red did. Let me remove this blue. Let me remove this red. So what are we doing? We are finding the entire volume of the entire cube. Okay? The entire volume of the entire cube. But that is not the shape we have. The shape we have is a cube with a cone inside it missing. So we want to subtract this cone volume from inside to find the total volume. Okay? That's why we are doing the subtraction over here. Okay? Now, to solve, same exact method of solving. V2, it's a cone, 1 over 3. First step, 1 over 3. Then area of, since it's a cone, conical shape, it's a circle. The base of it is a circle. What is the base? Base diameter is given. So what is, first of all, the height as well? The height here is, let me just copy paste this picture so there's no confusion. Okay, so if you notice here, this is the height from here to the bottom. This is the same as this height. The same as any height, any straight line from the top to the bottom. What is the dimension there? This height. 29 feet. So this has to be the H here is 29 feet. The diameter is also 29 feet. They don't even need to give you this because this is also 29 feet. So they have to all be equal. Remember that this is diameter. Since diameter is equal to 29 feet, the radius is going to be equal to 1/2 of the diameter. So the radius is equal to 29 divided by 2, which is 14.5 feet. Okay? Now, times the height. So V2 is equal to 1 over 3. Area of a circle is pi r squared. Area of a circle is pi, which is 3.14 times the circle. What is the circle? What the radius? What is the radius? The radius was found to be 14.5 squared times the height. What is the height? 29. V2, put this all in the calculator, calculate. So 1 over 3 times 3.14 times 29 is going to be equal to 6,381.788. Okay? Do not round here, we will round in the final answer. So this is feet cubed. Now, what do we need to do? We need to find A total or V total. V total in this case is going to be equal to V1 minus the removed shape, the white shape, which is the shape of the cone, V2. So in other words, what is V1? V1 is 24389. 24389 feet cubed minus 6,381.788 feet cubed. Okay, this is going to give us 24389 minus 6381.788 is going to be 8007.212 feet cubed. Okay? This is going to be equal to, remember, the question says to one decimal place. This is one decimal place over here. We look at this number. This is less than 5. Because it's less than 5, we do nothing here. And then the final answer will be 18,007.2 feet cubed. All right? Any questions about this? الأرقام اللي بعد الفاصلة, the decimal points, it depends on the question. The question here, it says round your answer to one decimal. Usually يعني write your answer to 3-4 decimal places زين, and then just use that, and then the final answer round. Only the final answer do the rounding على حسب السؤال, what the question asks of you. The question here says round to one decimal place. One decimal place means you'll go 1 point after the decimal place. Okay? يعني. So this is the decimal point. One decimal place means you will go one after, and then you'll draw the line here, look at the number after that, and see what you will do too. ننقص عشان الشكل الداخل. Yes, here we are subtracting because this shape is empty. يعني هذا inside of it there's a cone shape empty inside of it. So what are we doing? Again, I will explain. We are finding the total volume of the entire cube. We are finding the total volume. Then we are finding only the cone inside, the volume of the cone inside. Then we are removing this cone from inside and finding the total volume. Fatma, check how you are putting it in the calculator. Make sure you are putting the exact same way I am writing it here for V2. And you're talking about the final answer or V2? Put the brackets in the exact same way I am putting them here in the calculator. Everyone, just make sure you are writing it in the exact same way I'm writing it here. Always put the brackets the same way I am doing it here in the calculator. I intentionally put all these additional brackets so that there isn't any calculation mistake from the calculator. So always write it in the same way to avoid those mistakes. Final answer, this is 24389 minus 6381.788. Double check. I don't know what you're doing, but this is how it's supposed to be. You determine what is V1. In this case, this is the cube, صح? عندكم الكيوب هني. The full cube is the shaded area. We look at the shaded area, that's always going to be your V1. What is the shaded area here? It's the cube. What is the white area? It is the removed part, which is V2. Okay? So always have your V1 as the full cube. So let's just do يعني, a quick look over. In this case, what is your shaded area? It is the rectangular prism. So that's going to be your V1. In this case, it's the cylinder. So that's going to be your V1. In this case, it's the outer sphere. That's going to be your V1. It's the shaded area. That's always going to be your V1. Then you will subtract the shapes inside. Okay? Fatima, did you figure it out? Any other questions? Anything not clear about this concept before we go to other questions like this? Okay. Let's do this one. B. Part B, they are trying to trick you. I'm just letting you know from now. And I will show you how you can understand or see it. So, the shape here, if I want to redraw the entire shape, the full shape, okay, I'm going to try my best to keep it يعني clean مثل ما يقولون. زين. It's going to look something like this. زين. It's gonna look something almost like this. Then it goes down here. It goes here. And it goes here. تقريبا. Okay. This is what it looks like. This is what your shape looks like because this white part is empty. This white part is empty. They put these curves to confuse you. Best. That's all they did. They put these curves to confuse you because all of you now are thinking, oh, there's a quarter of a cylinder here. There isn't a quarter of a cylinder. If you notice now when I'm drawing it in this case, okay, I'm gonna draw this dotted. This dotted part is the empty part of your prism. Okay? This is the empty part. Actually, let's remove the dots. Let me do it fully properly لأنه ما قاعد يطلع واضح ويا الdots عشان بس تفهمون. Here, again, the question is meant to confuse you. You have to use some of the logic to understand what it means. Okay? So, this is the shape we have. This is the actual shape we have. The empty part is, this is the empty part in black. Okay, something like this تقريبا. This is your empty part. Okay, the empty part, as you notice, is not in the shape of a cylinder. It's in the shape of a rectangular prism. يعني you're not gonna remove this cylindrical piece. You are moving this full part. هاي القطعة كاملة اللي هني. Not just the cylinder. That's why this is يعني it's a trick they are doing عشان يخربون عليكم. فيعني what you are going to be actually removing, let me put it in green. No, that's what we're going to use later on. What you're actually removing is this entire part. تقريبا يعني. Okay. This entire part is what you will be removing. هذا كامل, this green area, this green prism is what you are removing. Okay. It's not a semicircle you are removing. You are removing, or a quarter of a circle, or a quarter of a cylinder, I should say. You are removing a full rectangular piece because your final piece should look something like this. And if you look here, it should look something like this. It looks like يعني الحين أنا لو راويتكم تشوفون الدرج, the stairs in front of your house or in front of or anywhere. You see the stairs? The stairs, does it look like there's a circular piece missing or an actual block rectangular prism missing? It looks like there's a rectangular prism missing. That's what it looks like, not a circular piece. فعشان you find the volume, you will remove the rectangular piece, not a circular piece. That's only meant to confuse you. That's it. Okay? So now we can start solving. The full piece, obviously, red, this is going to be 1. يعني ال1 is going to be all the way to the end. زين. This is going to be your 1. Okay. The full thing is going to be your 1. And the green part is going to be your 2. Fair. If I want to redraw it, let's do V1. We're going to redraw V1. It's going to be just a prism. It's just going to be the full prism like this. Okay. That's all it's going to be, a full prism. And it's 10 centimeters here, 4 centimeters here, 12 centimeters here. Okay, 2 centimeters here. Nope, it's not 2 centimeters here. It's 2 plus this top part, which is the 4. Don't confuse here, which we already have. خلاص, we only need 3 dimensions anyway. Okay, so we only have 2 volumes here, V1 and V2. The full full prism, the full thing, okay? V1 10 centimeters يعني كامل as if يعني احنا we are filling this part as well كامل هني this full part we are filling this with it, okay? That's your prism for V1, and then we just apply V1 is equal to length times width times height, 4 times 10 times 12. I'm not going to go through all the calculations again. You guys should know this by now, which is 120 by 4, which is 480 centimeters cubed. Okay. Let's go to V2. V2. Our V2 now is this rectangular prism. Or actually, I think it's a square prism, but we will see now. Okay, it's this one. Let me actually remove some of these lines. عشان ما يصير confusion. Okay, this is the square prism we have. زين? V2. We're looking at V2 now. The small part. All we have to do is remove this part from the total prism. اللي هو, if you look at it here, it's going to look like somewhere around here. هني. زين؟ هاي القطعة. كذي. هاي القطعة اللي هني. بنشيلها. كامل. زين؟ هاي القطعة بنشيلها كامل. وبعدين الفاينل shape, it will look like this. That's the idea. That's what we're doing right now. So what's V2? Look at the dimensions. So this is given as 8. And this total distance is 10. So what will this distance be over here? This is going to be 2 centimeters. صح ولا لا? Because this is 10. يعني, if I draw the line. Okay, if I draw the line. From here to here, this is all 10 centimeters. And then up to this point, if we cut it, this is 8 centimeters. So this is our x. 8 plus x is equal to 10. Take the 8 to the other side. X will be equal to 10 minus 8, which is equal to 2 centimeters. Okay? Same exact thing we can do for the length, for this part over here, this side. Let me do this in purple. This side over here as well. Same exact thing. I'm going to do it like this. Okay? This is the cut. Cut is over here. We know that this bottom part, this is total part is equal to 4 centimeters, and the bottom part is mentioned here as 2 centimeters. So this is 2 centimeters. Because this means this is also 2 centimeters. This means this is also going to be 2 centimeters. So this is your x. 2 plus x equal 4. X will be equal to 2 centimeters. Okay? So we found our dimensions. So this will also be 2 centimeters. Tamam? Did you guys get what I did here? I just went very quickly through it, and we did it a lot before. Okay, no questions, inshallah. Let's move on. So this is 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. So this is the square prism. Very simple. Again, volume, and we know that this length is 12 centimeters. It's the same length, it's 12 centimeters. So the volume 2 is going to be 2 times 2 times 12, which is equal to 2 times 2, that's 4. 4 times 12, that's 48 centimeters cubed. And now the final step, V total is equal to V1 minus V2. So V total is equal to 480 centimeters cubed minus 48 centimeters cubed, which is going to be equal to 480 minus 48, 432 centimeters cubed, and we are done. Super easy. It's just the trick you need to understand. لازم تفهمون إن a removed area, what does it look like? Not the shape they're giving it to you. The removed area, what does it look like? So in this case, don't look at the curves that are trying to confuse you. لا. انتوا ما يهمكم في الكيرفز. انتوا يهمكم final shape, what it looks like. It looks like this. So what is this part that is removed here? It's clearly rectangular or square. يعني it's a prism. It's a shape of a prism, not a shape of a cylinder. All right? And that's it. Any questions before I go to the next one? ليش ننقص الشكل إن شاء الله 20 more minutes and we will be done. ليش ننقص الشكل مو داخل؟ نقصنا الداخل لا we're removing هذا ال green part. The non-shaded part قاعدين احنا we're removing this non-shaded part. The non-shaded part here is going to be a green prism. If you look here, it's going to look like a green prism, which is the V2. So we're removing that part. The angle here, the curves here they're giving you is just to throw you off, يعني عشان to trick you. There is no angles here, nothing. It's just meant to trick you. There is a prism you are going to be removing from that prism. That's why we are subtracting V2. Now, شكله ما بنلحق وايد على most of the word problems, but the concepts are very similar. I'll try to do as many as I can. Let me just do this one because it has sphere, and a cylinder. Let's look at first the cylinder. Okay, let's call the cylinder 1. And let's call the spheres 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Since they are equal in shape and size and volume and radius, they're going to be equal to each other when we do the calculations. Now, what is our V1? The part that is shaded. So V1 is the cylinder. V1 is equal to pi r. So I'm not going to go through all the details. Pi r squared times the height. So it's equal to 3.14 times 6 squared times 24 yards. That's the height over here, h. Okay. V1 is equal to, put this in the calculator, 6 squared times 3.14 times 24 is equal to 2712.96. Why did I say the radius here is equal to 6? Because it's given. This is the radius. The radius of the sphere is equal to the radius of the cylinder, obviously. Okay? So this radius over here is equal to 6 yards. So the volume is going to be this yards cubed. All right? Now we go to volumes 2 and 3. V2, 3, because they're the same. What's the volume of a sphere? Easy. 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Just one equation. 4 over 3 times 3.14 times, again, 6 cubed. V2, which is equal to V3, are both equal to 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 6 cubed, which is 904.32 yards cubed, or cubic yards. Remember, we have two missing parts, or two parts we need to remove. So let's look at the shaded part, where the shaded part is. So let's look at V total now. We're looking at V total. What is the shaded part? V1. This is the V1. 2 is being removed from it, so we have to subtract minus V2. 3 is also being removed from it, so we have to subtract again minus V3. And that's it. Problem solved. It's equal to V1. What is our V1? 2712.96. 2712.96 yards cubed, or cubic yards, minus V2 is 904.32 cubic yards. Again, minus what's V3? It's also 904.32 yards, cubic yards. This is all equal to, put it in the calculator, 2712.96 minus 904.32 minus 904.32. It's equal to 904.32 cubic yards. Keep in mind, what did the question ask at the very beginning? If we read the question again, I didn't copy the question, I think. Where is it? No, I did. Here. Round your answer to 1 decimal place. So we have to round our answer to 1 decimal place. How do you round to 1 decimal place? We look at this decimal point. 1. Okay, so we draw a line here. We look at this number. It's less than 5. Less than 5, we do nothing here. Final answer, V total is going to be equal to 904.3 cubic yards. I think in the solution they only wrote 904, but they clearly in the question it says to 1 decimal place. Any questions? Part D, very quickly, because it's so simple. Part D. You have two spheres, one sphere within another sphere. What's our V1? The big sphere, the shaded area. What's our V2? The small sphere. V total is going to be equal to V1 minus V2, which is equal to, what's V1? V1 is the volume of a sphere, 4/3 pi r1 cubed, okay, minus 4/3 pi r2 cubed. What's R1 and R2? R2 is equal to, tell me, what's R2 equal to? R1 is equal to 10 centimeters. What's R2 equal to? 3 centimeters. The diameter is given here. This is the diameter, not the radius. Diameter is given. This is diameter. R2 has to be equal to half the 6, which is 3. Do not make this mistake. People make this mistakes even in engineering 4th year, by the way. Do not make this mistake. The given value here is diameter. This is diameter. Okay? So this is diameter. Anyways, back to the solution. 4/3 pi, what's R1? 10 centimeters cubed, minus 4/3 pi, or 3.14. Same thing, 3.14. Okay, times 3.14 times, what's R2? It's 3 cubed. Put this all in the calculator, you found your V total. Done. Times 3.14 times 10 cubed minus 4/3, so, times 3.14 times 3 cubed. I get 4073.627 centimeter cubed to 1 decimal place. Again, 1 decimal place. Look at this number. Less than 5. Don't do anything. Done. V total 4073.6 centimeters cubed. Any questions? Okay, because we only have like 10 minutes left, I'm going to try to go over these very quickly over here. This is the exact same concept we did before. There's 2 ways you can do these. There's 2 ways you can do these. Okay, I'm going to take this because it just is easier to draw on. So the way you solve this, so the question says you have to find the total volume, okay? What do? You have one of 2 things you can do. You can either cut the shape here, okay? You can cut the shape here, and then you'll have 2 sides, 2 sizes. You'll have this one, this prism over here, 1, okay? And then you'll have this as 2, this one over here, okay? And you will just add them, and then you'll just do V1 plus V2. Done. V1 plus V2. Or you can take the full shape and do minus, but I don't recommend that. Always do this. Okay? This concept should be straightforward, Yani. Okay? Same thing. You're just combining these 2 rectangles. Let's see any other questions. Same exact concept here. You will cut, do it. Let's see what the diagram shows. The dimensions of cement walking where all the sides meet at right angles. What is the total volume? Same exact thing. You will take this, you will cut it at this side. You will have two rectangles, rectangular prisms. Calculate. Done. Solution found. Skip is in the shape of a prism with a cross section ABCD as shown below. So in this case, it shows you that you have a trapezium, okay, or a trapezoidal prism. It gives you the dimensions of AD, of DC, the width. You have to calculate the area and calculate the volume. All you're going to do is, let me just copy this real quick. Not going to solve it fully. I just want you guys to see it. So all that you are going to do is find the area of the shaded part. This is the shaded part. It's a trapezoid. What's the area of a trapezoid? Area of a trapezoid is equal to A plus B times height over 2. Okay? This is A. AD is equal to A. AD is equal to A. And BC is equal to B. That's it. Simple. This is B. This is A. Okay, what's the height? 1.3. That's it. That's it. Done. It's the perpendicular height. This is H. That's how you find the area. How do you find the volume? You multiply the area times the extension. What's the extension in this case? Let's call this L. 1.5. A times L for volume. And you're done. Okay? Clear? Find the area, multiplied by the extension for the volume, and that's it. This is week 9 stuff, and then the week 10 part is just multiplying by 1.5. Let's see the next one. Okay, let's solve this because it looks like it's a bit confusing. I don't know. I didn't read the question, but let's do it. The diagram below shows a solid shape. The solid shape is made from a hemisphere and a cone. Hemisphere is half a sphere. So hemisphere is equal to half sphere. In other words, if you want to find volume of a hemisphere, it's equal to half the volume of a sphere. Okay? So in other words, volume of a hemisphere is 1 over 2 times 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Best. Done. Okay? Now, the radius of the hemisphere is equal to the radius of the base of the cone. So we know that this is r is the same in both cases. Same r. The cone has a height of 10 centimeters. The volume of the cone is 270. I see what this is. Okay. The height, h, is equal to 10. So this is h equal to 10 of the cone. And the volume of the cone is v of the cone is 270 pi centimeter cubed. It's given in terms of pi. Work out the total volume of the solid shape. Give your answer in the terms of pi. Now, I will do this. This will be the last question, okay? And I'm going to go very slowly, step by step, so you guys don't get confused. Let's start with the basic thing. This is 1. Let's do it in red. This is 1, and this is 2. Volume 1. What is the volume of a cone? Volume of a cone is 1 over 3. That's the first thing. Times. It's a cone, so it's a circular shape. The area of the circular shape, which is pi r squared. Times the height h. That is our volume of the cone. The volume of the cylinder V2 is equal to, it's half a cylinder, so it's going to be equal to, if we simplify this, sorry, it's a hemisphere, half a sphere. So if we simplify this, this is basically 2 over 3 pi r cubed, okay? So V2 is equal to 2 over 3 pi r cubed. Okay, we know that this r is equal to the cone's r. We need to work out the total volume of the solid shape and give our answers in terms of pi. Now, How do we do that? First of all, what is the formula for a total volume in this case? V total is just going to be equal to V1 plus V2. Okay? V1 plus V2. And we are already given the volume V1. This volume V1 is given. We don't have the R. So before even moving to this phase, we need to find our R, our radius. What is the radius? We need to find this radius R. Okay? All right, let's do it in blue. We need to find this radius R. So if we rewrite this equation 1, if we rewrite it, V1 is equal to 1 over 3 pi R squared times H. We have the value of this. We know what pi is. We don't even need to touch it. We have the value of height, right? We know the volume V of the cone is 270 pi, and we have the height is equal to 10 centimeters. Let's plug in those values. So V1 is equal to, was it 270? Yes, 270 pi centimeter cubed. 270 pi centimeter cubed is equal to 1 over 3 times pi times R squared, which we need to find, times H. What is the height? 10 centimeters, if I'm not mistaken. 10 centimeters. We have everything. We need to now just solve for R. And that's it. So first step, multiply this by 3. Okay, if this confuses you, let's put the bracket back. Multiply this by 3, multiply this side by 3 as well. This 3 will cancel with this, so this will be 3 times 270. This is just algebra now. 810 pi centimeter cubed is equal to, now let's remove the centimeter cubed so we can just solve the math part. 810 pi is equal to pi times R squared times 10. Let's simplify this pi and 10 and multiply them directly. 810 pi is equal to 10 pi times R squared. Now we want to get rid of the 10 pi. We divide both sides by 10 pi. Divide by 10 pi. 10 pi and 10 pi cancels. The pi and the pi will cancel. The pi and the pi will cancel. So we are left with 810 divided by 10. So R squared is equal to 810 divided by 10. R squared is equal to 81. How do we find R? We have to take the square root of both sides. Okay? We have to take the square root of both sides to get rid of the R squared. So the squared will cancel with the square root here. We will be left with R. And then square root of 81 is simply just 9 centimeters. What happened here is, this is just algebra. This is all I'm doing here is algebra. So what I did is I multiplied the right side of the equation by 3, and I multiplied the left side of the equation by 3. So if I want to add an additional step here, then if I want to just add an additional step here so you don't get confused. So what I did is 3 times 270 pi is equal to pi times R squared times 10. And then this 3 times 270 pi becomes 810. Okay? Okay, Mohammed? That's where I got the 810 from. After the 810, I just multiplied the pi and the 10 on the right hand side, divided by 10. Yeah, you can solve it in any different way. You can open the bracket, solve, whatever. I recommend, in the cases of a sphere, a cone, all of that, anything you have 1 over 3, just multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of the fraction. It will make it much easier to solve. So my recommendation is the first step when coming to the algebra part is to multiply by 3. So we found our R now. We found our R. Now we can find the volume. Now that we found this R. So R is equal to 9 centimeters. Now we can find the volume of the sphere. V2 is equal to 2 over 3 times pi times r cubed. What's r cubed? 9 cubed. Keep in mind the pi, we're going to keep it as pi as the question says, give your answer in terms of pi. That means, يعني el pi, don't put a number instead of it. The answer should be something like this, like 270 pi, for example. So we'll keep it in terms of pi. So V2 is equal to 2 over 3 times 9 cubed pi. And then the reason I did this is so that the pi stays on the side. So V2 is equal to, just put this in the calculator, 9 cubed times 2 divided by 3, which is 486 pi, and this is centimeters cubed. Okay, now we found that we have our V1, we have our V2. What do we need to do? We just find the V total. Okay, V total is simply equal to V1 plus V2. Okay, simple. And now we just plug in the numbers. V total is equal to, what's V1? V1 is 270 pi, which is given in the question, 270 pi, plus centimeters cubed, obviously, plus V2, which is 486 pi. Okay, V total, centimeters cubed as well. V total is simply going to be 270 plus 48 plus 486 plus 486, 756 pi centimeters cubed. Any questions about this? Anything that's not clear? Quick recap before I conclude the session. السريع بس. We were given the volume of the cone, we were given the height, okay? But we were not given the radius. When we are given these two of a cone, we can find the radius from the equation of the volume. So what we did is the volume of the cone, we plugged into the equation all the values we know. Algebraically, we solved the equation for r. The final step, you're going to have to do the square root. Here, you're going to have to do the square root, okay? And it will so you can cancel the squared, and then you will find your radius. Once you find your radius, you can plug it in back into the volume of the hemisphere in this case. We plugged it in back into here. We solved for the second volume in the terms of pi, because that's what the question asked for. And then V total, we just added V1 and V2, and we found 756 pi centimeter cubed to be the final answer. Okay? The recordings, I'll share all the recordings down in chat. I'm sorry if I took a bit too long. I hope this helped you guys out a lot. I hope both of these sessions helped you guys out a lot. My recommendation, as I usually always say, practice, practice, practice. I'm just teaching the concepts. I'm not preparing you for the exam at all. I'm just teaching the concepts. You should prepare yourself for the exam by practicing, by getting used to solving, understanding, remembering areas, remembering how to find all the volumes. If you have any questions, I'll be here for another 5 minutes. I'll stop the recording now, and you'll be able to access this recording just like yesterday through Teams, and I'll